All right, let's talk about Gen Z. You've heard the term, but who are they really? We're talking about the generation born roughly between 1997 and 2012. They're the first to have grown up with the internet in their pocket, and believe me, they are already changing everything, our culture, our workplaces, and our economy. So what actually makes them tick? Let's get into it.
And if you're wondering just how much of a big deal this is, let's just start with one single number. By 2030, Gen Z's global spending power is projected to hit $12 trillion. That's not just a trend. That's an economic earthquake that no one can afford to ignore.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at how they were forged by crisis. Then, we'll dive into what it means to be a true digital native. We'll explore their new rules of money, how they're sparking a consumer revolution, and finally, why they demand purpose, not just a paycheck.
First things first, to really get Gen Z, you have to understand the world they grew up in. Their entire perspective, their whole worldview, was basically formed inside a pressure cooker of major historical events, and that created a very, very specific kind of person.
I mean, think about this timeline for a second. They were kids watching their family struggle through the 2008 recession, which hardwires a certain kind of financial anxiety into you. They've literally never known a world without smartphones, so technology isn't a tool, it's like air. And then, their most formative years, high school, college, first jobs, were completely upended by a global pandemic, which kind of shattered their trust in the way things are supposed to work.
All of this created a huge gap between them and the generation right before them, the millennials. See, while millennials were digital pioneers, figuring out this new tech stuff as it came along, Gen Z are digital natives. They were born into it. Financially, Gen Z grew up anxious and super pragmatic, while millennials were kind of defined by student debt and learning to be resilient. These aren't just subtle little differences, we're talking about a fundamentally different operating system.
And that whole digital native thing has totally rewired how they see the world, how they get information. For Gen Z, technology isn't something they use, it's a core part of who they are.
So take a look at this. This is their digital home. YouTube is king, no doubt. They use it for everything from entertainment to how-to videos. But right on its heels, you've got Instagram and TikTok. And these are so much more than just social apps. They're hubs for community, for discovery, and, maybe most shockingly, they're becoming the new search engines.
And this right here, this is a game changer. Get this, nearly 40% of Gen Z, when they're looking for a place to eat or info on a product, they don't go to Google anymore. They go to TikTok or Instagram. This completely flips the entire script on how information gets discovered.
So, the natural question is, why, right? Why abandon the most powerful search engine ever created for a feed of short-form videos?
Well, the answer is they have a totally new search logic. They'd much rather get a quick, visual, straight-to-the-point answer than scroll through pages of text. They trust a video from a real person, a peer, way more than some polished corporate website. And remember that skepticism we talked about? It absolutely extends to search results. They want raw, authentic, user-generated content.
And that same pragmatism, it shows up big time when we look at their money. Gen Z's relationship with finances is, well, it's complicated. It's a constant tug of war between being really anxious and wanting to be in control. So first off, and this might surprise you, they are serious savers. Having seen what happened in 2008, they're incredibly diligent, keeping an average of 36% of their money stashed away in savings. For a young generation, that is remarkably high. But, and here's the paradox, at the exact same time, more than half of them are regularly using buy now, pay later services. So, wait a minute, that seems totally contradictory, doesn't it? Saving so much, yet constantly using short-term financing.
Just so we're all on the same page, Buy Now, Pay Later, or BNPL, does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you split a purchase into smaller, usually interest-free payments, so you get the thing now and pay for it over time.
So, how do we square that circle? The saving versus the spending? Well, it all comes back to one core feeling. Nearly half of Gen Z do not feel financially secure. BNPL is actually a tool they use to manage that anxiety. It gives them the feeling of control with smaller payments, so they can get what they need without that gut punch of a huge expense wiping out their hard-earned savings. This leads us right into our next point. For Gen Z, what they buy is just as important as how they buy it. A purchase isn't just a transaction anymore. It's a statement. It's basically a vote for the kind of world they want to build. And these right here, these are the non-negotiables.
They demand authenticity and transparency from brands. They expect a real, proven commitment to sustainability and the environment. And they want to see social responsibility, companies that take a stand. They can spot fakeness from a mile away, and it is an absolute deal breaker.
And look, they're really putting their money where their mouth is. A massive 73% of them are willing to pay more for products they know are sustainable. This isn't just some casual preference. It's a core belief that is fundamentally changing the rules of retail.
Okay, last stop on our tour, the workplace. All these values we've been talking about, they're bringing them to their jobs, and it is shaking things up in a big way. Gen Z is walking into the workforce with a completely different idea of what a career should even be.
Get this, that whole traditional idea of climbing the corporate ladder to the top, only 6% of Gen Z say that becoming a leader is their primary goal. Now, their ambition hasn't vanished, it's just been completely redefined.
So what does that new ambition look like? I call it the new career trifecta. Yes, money is still important, but it's now just one of 3 equal parts. The other 2, meaning and well-being. So for any job, they're asking 3 questions. Does it pay my bills? Does this work actually matter? And will this job destroy my mental and physical health? The answer has to be yes to the first 2 and no to the last one.
So let's bring it all home. What's the Gen Z profile? Well, they were forged by crisis, which made them incredibly pragmatic. They're true digital natives who navigate a world of visual, peer-to-peer information. And maybe most importantly, they are deeply purpose-driven, using their wallets and their careers as tools to build a better world.
So you see, this isn't just a profile of a demographic. It's really a preview of the future. A future that values authenticity, well-being, and real purpose over the old way of doing things. And that leaves us all with one final thought. As their economic and cultural power just continues to explode, are our companies, our brands, and our workplaces actually ready for it?